You ever feel like, just overwhelmed by this pressure to be perfect?
Oh, yeah, all the time. I think everyone does.
Like it's everywhere,
At work, in our hobbies.
Even just like everyday life.
It feels like you're always chasing this, flawlessness.
Yeah, exactly. So in this deep dive, we're going to look at this idea of progress over perfection.
Yeah, ditching that unattainable perfect.
And focusing on the power of progress.
I thought it was so interesting how much this idea of perfection is just like baked into society.
Right. It's like we're programmed to think anything less than perfect.
It's just not worth celebrating.
Totally. And I'm really curious about like the psychological impact,
Of always striving for this idealized version of ourselves.
It's got to be exhausting.
It is incredibly taxing on our mental well-being.
Because you're never going to reach perfection.
Right, when you set that bar, you're just setting yourself up for
Constant disappointment.
self-criticism, this cycle.
And the research shows a link between perfectionism and
Increased anxiety.
procrastination.
Even fear of failure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's like we're so scared of messing up.
That we don't even try.
We play it safe.
And that's exactly what holds us back from growing.
It's ironic, isn't it?
It is.
So this source material talks about focusing on progress instead.
Uh-huh.
Can you tell us a little more about that?
Sure. Yeah. Progress isn't about
Huge overnight changes.
Yeah, it's the small steps,
Like consistently putting in the work to improve.
Even if it's just a little bit every day.
So it's recognizing that growth is gradual.
And celebrating the little victories.
No matter how small they seem. So it's not about being perfect right away.
No, not at all.
It's about that continuous effort to be better.
Yeah. Even if it's just tiny steps.
And that change in mindset can be so powerful.
Absolutely.
This research talks about microwinds.
Oh, yeah, those little things that might seem small on their own.
But they add up over time to big progress.
Like building a house brick by brick.
Love that analogy.
Each brick might not seem that important.
But when you put them all together,
you've got a solid foundation.
That reminds me of fitness.
Yeah.
Someone just starting a new workout routine.
The first few weeks can be rough.
The changes might seem so tiny.
But if they stick with it,
those 10-minute workouts,
the healthier food choices,
all those little efforts, they compound over time.
And they lead to huge transformations.
Have you seen that transformative power of progress in your own life?
Oh, yeah, totally. Early in my career, I had this research project.
Okay.
And it just seemed so daunting at first.
I can imagine.
Brand new field for me, just felt overwhelmed.
By all the information.
Yeah, totally. But I decided to just take it one step at a time.
Okay.
Just focusing on understanding one key concept a day.
Right.
And slowly, almost without realizing it, it all started to come together.
You built up that knowledge?
And I could navigate the project.
With confidence.
Yeah, I felt like I had mastered it.
That's an awesome example of how focusing on the process, taking those small steps, can lead to big results over time.
For sure.
There's another concept in this research that I found fascinating.
Okay.
The idea that failure, it's not the opposite of progress.
Yeah.
It's actually a crucial part of it.
Interesting.
Seems kind of counterintuitive, though, right?
It does, yeah. It goes against how we usually think about failure.
For sure. Yep. But if you think about it, failure just means something didn't work the way we planned.
Right.
And that gives us valuable information.
It does.
This research talks about how changing our view of failure can actually unlock learning and innovation.
I like that.
It reminds me of that quote from Thomas Edison.
Oh, yeah?
When he was working on the light bulb.
Yeah.
He said, "I haven't failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work."
That's a good one.
That's the perfect example of seeing failure.
Not as a setback.
But as a step towards success.
Totally.
But how exactly does failing help us progress? Is it more about building resilience?
Could be.
Or maybe it helps us get better at problem solving?
I think it's a bit of both, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, this research suggests that when we see failure as a normal part of learning, we become more resilient and adaptable.
We're less afraid to make mistakes.
So we're more willing to try new things.
Experiment.
Push our boundaries.
And that often leads to, innovative solutions.
That we might have never found.
If we were too afraid to fail.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how this shift from fearing failure to embracing it
has a learning opportunity.
Can totally change the game.
It can.
But is there a chance we get complacent?
That's a good question.
If we're too okay with our mistakes.
Embracing failure doesn't mean lowering our standards.
Right.
Or accepting mediocrity.
We still want to strive for excellence.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that mistakes happen.
especially when we're trying to learn and grow.
For sure, the key is to see those mistakes.
Not as like personal flaws,
Yeah.
but as feedback.
That can help us do better next time.
So it's about learning from those setbacks
Oh,
and using them to improve our approach.
that's where self-compassion comes in.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more about that.
It's about being kind to ourselves.
Oh.
Just like we would be kind to a friend who's struggling.
Yeah.
Recognizing that we're all a work in progress.
Makes sense.
It's okay to stumble along the way.
So how did self-compassion fit into this whole idea of progress over perfection?
Wow.
And are there like practical ways to be more self-compassionate?
As we're learning and growing, definitely. With self-compassion, we can separate our self-worth from our achievements.
Okay.
We don't see mistakes as a sign of our value,
Yeah.
but as opportunities to grow.
So instead of beating ourselves up over a mistake,
Right.
we can look at it with curiosity
Yeah,
and ask ourselves, what can I learn from this?
exactly. That change in thinking can be so freeing.
You're not carrying that weight of self-criticism.
Exactly.
The research talks about how self-compassion helps us shift our focus from the destination to the journey itself. What does that mean?
When we're just fixated on reaching a goal,
Right.
we often miss out on the joy of actually getting there.
The process.
Yeah, exactly. Embracing progress lets us enjoy those small wins.
Right.
The moments of learning, the experiments, and even the so-called failures.
Because they all help us grow.
They do.
It's like we're giving ourselves permission to enjoy the ride.
Yes. And that makes the journey much more sustainable.
And enjoyable.
Definitely.
But I'm wondering, is there a risk of losing sight of our goals altogether?
Oh, I see what you mean.
If we're too focused on just enjoying the process.
Right. How do we balance those two?
Yeah.
It's about setting clear intentions.
Okay.
Having a sense of direction.
We're not abandoning goals completely.
No, but we're approaching them with a growth mindset.
Okay.
Recognizing that the path to success is rarely a straight line.
The research talks about entrepreneurship to show this right.
Yeah, building a business is rarely smooth sailing.
There are bumps in the road.
Setbacks, changes in direction, moments of doubt.
But entrepreneurs who embrace progress,
Yeah,
they can handle those challenges better.
because they're not just fixated on the end goal.
Like financial success.
Or dominating the market.
They find fulfillment in the daily work.
Building something from scratch.
Learning from mistakes.
Constantly getting better.
So it's about finding meaning in the work itself.
Exactly. Not just chasing external success.
And that applies to anything, really.
Yeah, any field.
Creative passions, learning new skills.
Career goals.
Embracing progress lets us find joy.
In the daily pursuit of what we love.
It makes me think of all the great artists, writers, musicians,
Yeah.
whose best work came after years of practice.
Experimentation.
Some failures.
For sure, if they were only focused on fame.
Or getting good reviews.
Right.
They might never have created those masterpieces.
It's a good reminder that true mastery takes dedication,
To the process.
a willingness to embrace the ups and downs.
And appreciating the journey. This whole conversation has made me really think about
Yeah.
how I view success and achievement.
Uh-huh.
I get caught up in that all or nothing thinking.
Yeah.
If it's not perfect, it's not worth doing.
Right.
But this idea of progress over perfection,
It's so freeing.
it is. It's a more sustainable way to live.
And enjoyable.
It makes me wonder, though,
Yeah.
how can we apply this beyond just ourselves?
What do you mean?
Like, could this progress over perfection philosophy work for,
Your teams or communities?
even for reaching big societal goals?
Oh, that's a good question. The research actually touches on that.
It does.
Yeah, it suggests that this shift in thinking could really change how we approach those big challenges.
Fascinating. So what would be the benefits of using a progress over perfection approach?
For those bigger goals.
I'm really curious to hear more about that. I'm really interested in how this progress over perfection thing could work in teams.
Yeah, me too.
If a team embraced this whole philosophy, wouldn't they be more adaptable?
Definitely more resilient.
And probably way more innovative.
Oh, it's an interesting thought, right?
It is.
Imagine a team where, it's okay to try new things.
You don't have to be afraid to take risks.
Exactly. And setbacks are seen as learning experiences.
Not like personal failures.
Yeah. The research suggests that those kinds of teams,
Okay.
they're more likely to have open communication.
People feel comfortable sharing their ideas.
Diverse perspectives are welcome.
No fear of judgment.
Vic.
I've definitely been in work environments where
Uh-huh.
everyone was so worried about being perfect
Oh, yeah?
that it just killed creativity
Yeah, people were afraid to speak up.
or share anything that might seem too out there.
It happens a lot, unfortunately.
It does. But when you focus on progress instead,
Yeah.
You create this space where people feel like
they can contribute.
they can share their talents and ideas.
And their ideas are valued.
Even if they don't have all the answers right away.
Right. It's not about expecting perfection.
It's about exploring.
Trying things out, refining ideas together.
Collaborating.
And that can lead to some amazing breakthroughs.
That you might not get in a super rigid environment.
For sure.
This makes me think about like bigger societal challenges.
Okay.
Things like climate change, poverty, social injustice.
Yeah, those are huge issues.
They seem so overwhelming.
They do?
Could this progress over perfection mindset help us there too?
I think it could be really important.
How so?
When we accept that there's no one perfect solution, we can start to explore different perspectives.
We can try new approaches.
We can learn from our mistakes.
So it's about recognizing that progress on these big issues, it's going to happen gradually.
It's a series of steps.
Maybe even some steps back.
But always with the goal of moving forward.
It's about having this long-term vision.
Knowing that real change takes time.
Patience.
And being willing to adapt.
Based on what we learn along the way?
Absolutely.
This has been a really thought-provoking conversation. It's clear that this progress over perfection idea, it can really change how we grow.
As individuals.
How we work together.
And even how we tackle those huge societal problems.
It's such a simple concept.
But it's so powerful.
It can lead to more fulfillment.
More resilience.
And ultimately, more meaningful progress.
In every part of our lives.
So well said.
Yeah.
We hope this deep dive has inspired you
to embrace the power of progress.
Remember, it's not about being perfect.
It's about always striving to be better.
Learning from our experiences.
And celebrating those little wins along the way.
Thanks for joining us on this exploration.
And we'd love to hear how you're using these ideas in your own life.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.